Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. After speaking, explaining the two techniques of centering, one says that look at the 5 color circles on the tail of peacock. The other is concentrate on the silver, the lotus thread or silver lining in the center of the spinal column. When you are centered, the next thing happens is balance, inner balance, equanimity. You are beyond the duality. What Krishna says, Sitoshna sam dukkha. Sheet means cold, ocean means summer. We live summer in a different way and winter in a different way. Some equipoised, and then happiness and sorrow. So if we are equipoised among these, that person is awakened. Bhagavad Gita uses the word that person is a sage. In the West, psychologist Abraham Maslow coined the term self-actualization. So I'm speaking on what is self-actualization and what is its necessity. Everyone is born with a seed. With a seed means potentiality. Seed can blossom into flower, but there is a process. Seed must be planted in the fertile soil. Then the seed will wait for the right opportunity. It will burst open its outer shell. Then it will begin to sprout, and as it sprouts, the tree will grow, and then after some time the flower will appear. So this seed is the potentiality, and flowering or the fruit is the fruition or the fulfillment of that potentiality. This whole process is known as self-actualization. As an individual, you must know your potentiality, what you are capable of, and you are working in that line to attain to fulfillment. This whole process is known as self-actualization. Man is born as a possibility, not as an actuality. He may become something, he may attain actualization of the potentiality, or he may not. Just as a seed may become a flower or may not. But if it blossoms into flower, myriad flowers will blossom on it. In the same way, if the seed that you are is centered, and it is balanced. There is and out of that comes inner balance. With that, many things will happen. Just as when the seed blossoms for the first time, one flower comes, then the season of spring comes and myriad flowers blossom. The opportunity may be used or it may not be used. The nature is not forcing you to become actual. You are free. You can choose to become actual. You can choose not to do anything about it. Both possibilities are open for you. Man is born as a seed, but no man is fulfilled. No man is born fulfilled. Just the possibility of fulfillment. If that is the case, then self-actualization becomes the basic requirement. Because unless you are fulfilled, unless you become what you can be, what you are meant to be, unless your destiny is fulfilled, unless you actually attain, unless the seed becomes a fulfillment, a fulfilled tree, you will feel that you are missing something within. And everyone is feeling that he or she is missing something within. You may have money, you may have prestige, you may have power, but it's still something remains missing. That feeling of missing is really because that you have not attained fulfillment, you have not attained this self-actualization, and that you are not yet actual. It is not that you are missing riches, you are missing position, prestige, power, or anything else. There was some disconnection with the internet. So I am just waiting for it to come. It is not that you are missing riches or position or prestige or power. Even if you get whatsoever you demand, riches, power, prestige, anything, you will feel this constant sense of something missing. Because this something that is missing, you feel it missing, has nothing to do with anything outward. It is related to your inner growth. Unless you become fulfilled within, unless you come to realization of flowering. Flowering is the realization. Unless you come to inner fulfillment in which you feel. Now this is what is meant by to be self-actualization. This sense of something missing will be felt. You cannot destroy this feeling of something missing by substituting it with anything else. So self-actualization means a person has become what he was to become. He was born as a seed and now he has blossomed. He has come to the complete growth and inner growth, to the inner end. The moment you feel that all your potentialities have become actual, you will feel the peak of life, of love, of existence itself. Peak of life, peak of love, of existence itself. It was Abraham Maslow who has coined this word self-actualization. He has coined another term, peak experience. When the seed blossoms into a flower, this is the peak experience. When one attains to oneself, he reaches the peak experience, a peak of bliss. Then there is no hankering for anything. He is totally content with himself. Now nothing is lacking, there is no desire. To work for a desire, to work with a desire is one thing, and to work desirelessly is another thing. I had mentioned in the 3rd chapter on karma, Krishna tells Arjuna, I have nothing to gain in the 3 universe. What does it mean? He have attained fulfillment. He have reached the peak experience. There is nothing lacking in him, yet still he engages in the work. Why do I have to hustle and get ready, finish up my work on Saturday and Sunday and Monday to come for live streaming? What is my gain? I do not gain any money, any power, any prestige, nothing. It is out of love. If the flower has blossomed, its beauty, its fragrance must be shared. Just as flower, the blossoming of the flower is its attitude, is its way. It cannot be otherwise. And the moment it happens, it cannot contain its beauty and fragrance. It must spread. And that sharing of the beauty and the fragrance of the flower, the joy it brings to the heart and the minds of the people, it creates an insatiable quest in all those who are around such flowers of the existence to grow and to be one like that. Is the fulfillment that an awakened one gains, gets, feels. That's why he continuously, ceaselessly works to share his presence, and his presence is contagious. This is self-actualization. Whatsoever he is totally content with himself. Self-actualization becomes the peak experience. Only a self-actualized person can feel the peak experience. Then whatsoever he touches, whatsoever he is doing or not doing, even just existing, is a peak experience for him. Just to be is blissful. Then bliss is not concerned with anything outside. It is the byproduct of inner growth. Centering comes first. It is the process of self-actualization has begun. Then inner balance, the actualization has attained fulfillment, then life moves in a totally different dimension. A Buddha is a self-actualized person. That is why when we picture Buddha, Mahabir and others, why we have made sculptures, pictures, depictions of them sitting on a fully blossomed lotus. Fully blossomed lotus symbolizes the peak experience, the peak of flowering within. The peak of flowering within. Inside they have blossomed and have become fully blossomed. That inner flowering gives a radiance, a constant showering of bliss, a serenity, a different kind of aura, showering of bliss from them. All those who have come even within their shadows, all those who come near such a person will feel a silent milieu around them, something that they cannot resist, a silent milieu. There is an important story around Mahabir. It may be myth, but myths are also beautiful. It says much, and that is important. That's why I said it's myth, but it's beautiful. It says that it is reported when Mahabir would move all around him in an area of about 24 miles, flowers would blossom. Even if it was not the season of the spring for the flowers to blossom, but they would blossom. It is simply a poetic expression. But even if one was not self-actualized, even if that person comes in contact with Mahabir, his flowering, his process of flowering will begin. It is like the presence is infectious. It begins to nourish and water and create the environment for inner flowering to begin. And one will feel an inner flowering in oneself also. If this was not the right season for the person, even if he was not ready, he would reflect. He would feel an echo. If Mahabir was near someone, that person will feel an echo within himself that he would have had a glimpse of what he could be. When I used to be around, that time I did not know about Abraham Maslow's, but there was a satiation, a kind of fulfillment used to come in the company of these awakened ones. You may not be aware. You do not know what is happening. When you are in the company of an awakened one, something inexpressible is felt deep within. Maybe, how do I become like one like him? How do I attain to this, his inner state of awakening? Sometimes we overlook, but it is bound to happen. And this is the beginning. That is why the company of an awakened one is infectious. Self-actualization is a basic need. When I say basic, I mean when all your needs are fulfilled, all except self-actualization, self-realization. If all your needs are fulfilled, except self-actualization, you have not attained the process, attained the self-actualization or self-realization, you will feel unfulfilled within. In fact, self-actualization happens, and if nothing else is fulfilled, you will feel a deep fulfillment. That is why Buddha was a beggar, yet he was an emperor. When Buddha attained to enlightenment, he came to the city of Banaras. That time it was known as Kashi. The emperor, the king of Kashi, came to meet Buddha. And he asked Buddha, I do not see that you have anything. You are just a beggar. Yet I feel myself beggar in your presence. In comparison to you, I feel beggar. You do not have anything, yet you walk. The way you walk, the way you look, the way you laugh, all makes it seem as if the entire world is your kingdom. And there isn't anything visible, nothing. So where is what is the secret of your power? What is the secret of this glory? You look like an emperor. Really, no emperor has ever looked like that, with such an elegance, as if the whole world belongs to him. You are the king. But where is your power? What is the source? Where is your kingdom? Buddha responded, it is in me. My power, my source of power, whatsoever you feel around me is really within me. I do not have anything except myself, and that alone is enough. I am fulfilled. Now I do not desire anything. I have become desireless. Really, a self-actualized person will become desireless. Remember this. Ordinarily, we say that it is that if you become desireless, you will know yourself. Contrary is also true. If you know yourself, you have become desireless. And the emphasis of Tantra is not on being desireless alone. Instead, it is on becoming self-actualized, self-realized. And desirelessness is the fragrance of self-actualization. It is the aura of self-actualization. Desire means you are not fulfilled within. You are missing something. You hanker after it. You go on moving from one desire to another in search of fulfillment. That search never comes to an end. One desire creates another. हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान, बहुत निकले मेरे अरमान, फिर भी कम निकले. मिर्ज़ा गालिब said, हजारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी कि that search never comes to an end. One desire creates another. One desire can create 10 desires. If you go in search of a desireless state of bliss through desires, it can never happen. But if you desire, if you try something else, method of self-actualization, method of realizing your inner potentiality or making them actual, then the more you become actual, the less desires will be there. Less desires will be felt. There is need. Certain things are needed. To live in the world, for me, I need a vehicle for transport, a reliable vehicle. The digital system to communicate with the people around the world, proper sound system, a comfortable source of living. These are the needs, not the desires. But whatever you are doing it to the best, that there is no hiccups. What to do is about self. There is a little cold which I need to get it overcome. What is to be done to attain to self-actualization? There are two things. These you have to understand. One, self-actualization does not mean that you become a great painter, a great musician, or a great poet, and in that process you will be self-actualized. Of course, a part of you will be actualized, and even that gives you some kind of contentment. If you have potentiality of becoming a good musician and you have fulfilled it, you have created a beautiful tune, you become a musician, a part of you will be fulfilled, only a part but not the total. The remaining humanity within you will remain unfulfilled. You are not the musician alone. Your development will be lopsided. One part will have grown and the remaining will have stayed, just like a stone hanging around your neck. Look at a poet. When he is in the poetic mood, he looks like a Buddha. He forgets himself completely. The ordinary man in the poetic mood is as if he is no more there. So when a poet is in that mood, he has attained a peak, but this is partial. And sometimes poets get the glimpse which are only possible for enlightened Buddhas, enlightened Buddha-like minds. A poet speaks like a Buddha. For example, Khalil Gibran speaks like Buddha, but he is not a Buddha, he is a poet, great poet. In Prophet, what he speaks is really beautiful. Is really beautiful. So if you see Khalil Gibran through his poetry, he looks like a Buddha, a Christ, a Krishna. But if you go and meet Khalil Gibran, he is just ordinary. He talks about love so beautifully. Even a Buddha may not talk so beautifully, but Buddha knows love with his whole being. Khalil Gibran's only a part knows about love. And when he is in that state, it is said about Oliver Goldsmith. There was once, a discussion was going on when these people die, they are buried, and something is written on an epitaph. So it was to decide what is to be written on the epitaph of Oliver Goldsmith. So there was a young poet, David Garrick. He said, I will write. And he wrote, here lies an angel with a pen in his hand. Here lies an angel with a pen in his hand, and he talked like a poor Paul. Here lies an angel with pen in his hand, and he talked like a poor Paul. That is why poet feels that when they are creating poetry, someone else is creating. Mirza Ghalib's composition says, आते हैं ये मज़ामी ख्याल में गैब से, आते हैं ये मज़ामी ख्याल में गैब से, गालिब शरीर खामा नबाइश रोज़ शरीर खामा. They are not they are creating poetry. Someone else is creating. It is happening through them. They are not creating. They feel as if they are an instrument of some other energy, some other force. They are no more. This feeling comes because really their totality is not actualized. Only a part of it, a fragment, is working. You have not touched the sky as yet. Only one of your finger has touched the sky, and you remain rooted on the earth. Sometimes you jump, and for a moment you are not on the earth. You have deceived the gravity, but the next moment you are on the earth again. When a poet is feeling fulfilled, he will have glimpses, partial glimpses. In the moments when a musician is feeling fulfilled, he will have a partial glimpses. It is said about Beethoven that when he was on the stage, he was a different man, altogether different. Goethe had said when Beethoven was on the stage directing his group, his orchestra, he looked like a god. It could not be said that he was an ordinary man then. He was not a man at all. He was superhuman. The way he looked, the way he raised his hand, all was all superhuman. But when he came back from the stage, he was just an ordinary man. There is a difference between Buddha. A Buddha is a Buddha 24 hours. Anything that he speaks or he does, anything reflects his Buddha nature, reflects his awakening. The way he walks, the way he talks, the way he does ordinary things. But in case when you are touched by it, a finger has touched the sky, not you have reached the sky. The man on the stage seems to be possessed by something else, as if Beethoven was no more there, and in his place some other force has entered into him, back down from the stage. He was once again Beethoven the man. Because of this, poets, musicians, great artists, creative people are more tense, because they have two types of being. Ordinary man is not so tense because he always lives as one. He lives on the earth. The poets, musicians, great artists jump. They are always jumping. They go beyond gravity. The moment they go beyond gravity, they are possessed. In certain moments, they are not on the earth. They are not part of humanity. They become part of Buddha world, the land of Buddhas. Then again they come back here. They have 2 points of existence. Their personalities are split. That's why you look at it. The personal life of the poets, musicians, is that of a split. So every creative artist, every great artist in a certain way looks insane. He has not attained inner balance. In certain moments he is self-actualized, but really he is not. The tension is so much. The rift, the gap between these two existences is so great that it cannot be bridged. It is unbridgeably great. Sometimes he is just like an ordinary man. Other times he becomes a Buddha-like, and he swings. He is divided between these 2 points. He gets the glimpses. When I speak of self-actualization, I do not mean you to become a great poet. You should become a great musician. I mean that you become a total man. I do not say a great man, because a great man is always partial. My emphasis is on total. Attain to your totality. The seed does not hold anything in attaining to its potentiality in the process of becoming a flower. It pours everything that it has in becoming the flower. This is totality. You need to be fulfilled as a man. What does this mean, to be fulfilled as a man? A great poet is a great poet because of great poetry. Khalil Gibran is known for his poetry. A great musician is great because of the music that he has created. A great man is great because of certain things he has done. He may be a great hero. A great man in any direction remains partial. Greatness is partial, fragmentary. That is why great men have two faces, more anguish than ordinary ones. What is total? What is meant by being a total, a whole man? It means, firstly, be centered. Centered, you have connected to your center in moments of your solitude, and even if you are in the company, you are centered. When you are speaking from your center, it is the inner beauty that is flowing. Words may be ordinary. When Vivekananda was asked, there is a great force in your words. What is that happens to you? He said, when I was speaking in the Parliament of Religions, the words were mine, the voice was mine, sometimes even the punctuation was mine, but the force behind my voice was of that haggard man. This was his way of saying, but I rephrase this. That force that he said that was a haggard man, that haggard man has become his center. And that center he has attained within him. And the force was coming from within him, and he gave that force a name, the haggard man. This was center. So the first thing is this: be centered. Never for even a moment be without center. This moment you are something, next moment you are something else. People come and they generally ask, where do you feel your center? In the heart? In the mind? In the navel? Where? In the sex center? Where do you feel your center? Generally they say, sometimes they feel the center is in the head, other times in the heart. Sometimes I do not feel it at all. So the way is to close your eyes before me when you sit down and feel it now. In majority of the cases this happens. We say, just now for a moment, I am centered in the mind, in the head, but the next moment they are not there. If say I am in the heart, and the next moment the center has slipped, it is somewhere else, at the sex center or somewhere else. Such a person is really not centered. Momentarily they are centered. Each moment creates its own center. So you go on shifting from head to heart, heart to navel, navel to sex center. When mind is functioning, you feel your head is the center. When you are in love, you feel heart is your center. When you are not doing anything particularly, you remain confused. You cannot find where your center is, because you can find it only when you are in a state of doing something. Doing something. Then in a particular part of the body, becomes center. But really you are not centered. If you are not doing anything, you cannot find your center. A total man is centered. Whatsoever he is doing, he is centered. If mind is functioning, he is thinking. Thinking goes on in the head, but he remains. What is your center? What is the center of life? Is navel. You were once connected to your mother's womb through the umbilical cord, through the center. Now you are part of the existence, the greater, the cosmic womb. Once again you are connected through this navel to the cosmic womb. This is your center. This is truth. The Hindus use 3 words, Sat, Chit, Anand. The second is consciousness, and the third is bliss. A total man is centered. Whatsoever he is doing, he remains in his center. His mind may be functioning. When Vivekananda said, when I was speaking, the words were mine, the voice was mine, but the force behind my voice was coming from the center. He was totally aware that the force was coming from that haggard man who was the embodiment of his inner center. If his mind is functioning, his thinking goes on in the head, but he remains centered in the navel. The center is never missed even for a moment. He uses his head, but he never moves to the head. You take your laptop to move from place to place, but the laptop never loses its connectivity with the Wi-Fi. So centering is your Wi-Fi. You go anywhere, you take your laptop, take the electrical connection, take anywhere for a certain period of time. As long as the charge remains, you will be able to connect. Buddha's is self-charged battery. It does not need anything outside. The center is never missed. He uses the head, but he never moves to the head. He uses heart, but never moves to the heart. All these things become instrument, but he remains centered. The centering is the first requirement for self-actualization. The second is balanced. Of course, when one is centered, one is balanced. His life is a deep balance, is a harmony of orchestra, all the orchestra, the tune is everything is tuned in. He is never one-sided. He is never at any extreme. Remains in the middle. Buddha has called this a middle path, remains always in the middle. I will stop it here at the moment, but this process of self-actualization will continue in the next session. These are important. These are the gems that happens, overflows, because you are in front of me. There is an insatiable quest. No one knows when this opportunity will come back again. It becomes my commitment to allow these overflows to happen, so that in the barren soils of thy inner sanctum, oft do I use the manure of compassion. With the rain of thy infinite bliss, the seed shall sprout one day, and then reckoning shall reap the fruits at the dawn of new awakening. Whatsoever you can achieve, attain, the level of self-actualization in this life, totality in this life you attain. And then, at the end of life, it would be easy for you to find another awakened one. Very easily to continue your inward journey until the process of self-actualization happens. Once Buddha was in the company of Dipankar. Dipankar was sitting down. Buddha came, Gautam, when I talk about Buddha. Buddha went and he bowed down to Dipankar. But Dipankar got up from the seat where he was sitting and he bowed down to Buddha. This confused. Buddha said, my bowing down to you is understood. You are awakened and I am not. Dipankar said, I know that. But I know something more than what you know. I know that you are in the process of being the Buddha. And the day you will attain to Buddhahood, I will be no more. So I bow down to you. And when Gautam attained to awakening, he became enlightened. He bowed down to the existence in gratitude for Dipankar, and through Dipankar to all those Buddhas who have happened and who will happen in times to come. It is the energy field of all the Buddhas that help you to blossom. The seed, it is the entire existence that helps the seed to attain to self-actualization. The gardener is just an instrument. A master is just an instrument. It is the entire existence that comes in the support of the seed. It pours itself, existence pours itself into the seed for the seed to become fulfilled. The existence pours itself into you. And gardener makes it happen. That existence continues to pour itself into you so that you attain to this self-actualization. You attain to your totality. You be centered. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.